Hi, welcome to Conversations with Hannah. Today I am on the Shrewsbury Common, as you might recognize, with the iconic church behind us. And I'm joined by three women who spend a lot of their time thinking about the Common in the Shrewsbury Town Center Association. Maribeth Lynch, you serve as president of the Shrewsbury Town Center Association, and you're on the board, Moira Miller, former select woman as well, who thought about a lot of Shrewsbury in general, and now we're focusing in on the Town Center Association. And Kristen Lass, who's our assistant town manager, and coming back, I think you were taping with me a month or two ago, so thank you for being part of these opportunities to talk about things that matter to us locally. I thought today was actually a great time to pull us together. Have been wanting to talk about the Shrewsbury Town Center Association, but also wanting to acknowledge that today, Maribeth Lynch was in Boston being recognized as one of the Commonwealth heroines. I was able to watch it on Facebook Live today, which was great. And you were joined by women from across the Commonwealth who have been nominated by legislators. And every year we have the opportunity through the Mass Commission on the Status of Women to think about women that are making a difference locally, who for the most part do the work sort of unsung. And Maribeth was really the person that I thought of that really epitomizes that. The work that you've done, Maribeth, with the Shrewsbury Town Center Association. And also, we were just laughing about when school got out the other day and having the ice cream truck in front of your business on Maple. That doesn't hurt either if you're a young person in this town. What a great memory to have and something to look forward to. But if you'll indulge me, I wanted to read. We can have 150 words when we nominate somebody. So you spend some time trying to figure out how to get across all the important points that you want to make. But I'd love to read to you, Maribeth, what I wrote when I nominated you for this award. Maribeth Lynch always seeks to bring people together and make others shine. Owner of Thrive Real Estate, Maribeth is a good neighbor in the bustling town center, sharing her parking lot with people getting coffee at nearby Dunkin' Donuts and placing benches outside her business encouraging people to linger. She hosts an ice cream truck on the last day of school and donates candy bars during the Spirit of Shrewsbury parade. A founding member and president of the Shrewsbury Town Center Association, Maribeth is one of Shrewsbury's greatest cheerleaders. She co-chairs the Yuletide Market and Like the Common, Shrewsbury Town Center's signature event, which draws thousands to the town common for an outside evening of holiday shopping, refreshments, and entertainment and camaraderie. Maribeth's civic pride shows in her volunteer work with the public schools, library, the Master Plan Steering Committee, and the Beal Reuse Committee, and she supports numerous community efforts. Shrewsbury is incredibly fortunate. So,
thank you.
I'm so thankful for all that you do, and I know that there's most people in our community don't know all that you do. You really do it behind the scenes, and I hope that you enjoyed the ceremony today with the Mass Commission on the Status of Women and some of the other women that were being celebrated across the Commonwealth. But on behalf of the town of Shrewsbury and all of us who benefit from all that you do, thank you.
Thank you. It was quite an honor. And funny enough, I'm sat with a group of women and we all kind of looked at each other and we're like, why are you here? And everyone was like, I'm only here because I help out when, and so it was just a room full of really great accomplished women who just do what they think is the right thing to do. So thank you. It's an honor to receive it. And I did it on behalf of so many other people who are unsung heroes in our town. That's what makes Shrewsbury wonderful. It really does. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And usually the event is held at the State House, but because the State House is still, it's open to individuals coming in and having meetings, we don't have events there yet. So it was held off-site this year. I'm glad it was held in person. The last couple of years, obviously, we haven't been able to. But you indicated it was a nice event at a restaurant in Boston. So moving the setting didn't seem to hinder the excitement of the day.
It was great. Wonderful event, wonderful. Just a great, I'd never been, as Venezia is the restaurant, and it was a great venue. We enjoyed it. So it was really a wonderful day.
And at the end of the event, when I was watching, Karen Polito came to make some comments and was thanked by the Mass Commission on the Status of Women, really for the work of the Baker Polito administration in elevating women in the Commonwealth. Over half of their appointees have been women to the boards and commissions that they get to appoint for, which before they came into office, it was not anywhere close to that.
Interesting.
And so it was good to see Karen have the opportunity to speak to all the women there. And then, there was a lot of gratitude certainly for her work across the Commonwealth. And so a hometown connection always exists.
It was great. And by the way, she held, people were not leaving. People were waiting for her to arrive and listen to every word she said. And it was really impactful. I mean, she really has elevated women in the Commonwealth, so that was really impressive, and the numbers speak for themselves. 50% of all their legislative appointees are women. It was really quite interesting to hear what she's done, and Charlie.
Well, so that's why it makes it appropriate today to talk about not only certainly you receiving this award, but also the fact that the Shrewsbury Town Center Association is something that I think a lot of people are still getting to know. I think a lot of people know the Yuletide Market now and lighting the common. They don't necessarily know all that's behind that. And so wanted to spend some time just really talking about all the work that you all have done to advance the Shrewsbury Town Center Association, and thought, Maribeth, if you wanted to just share, how did it originally get started?
The three of us, frankly. It was an idea that we didn't have an organization that represented the town center, and Moira and I had a conversation, and then several, and then I went to Kristen and said, hey, we're thinking about this, could you help us? And it was almost like she knew that we needed to do it and she was just waiting for someone to approach. Maybe that's true or not, but it seemed that way.
Yeah.
And so we just said, great, let's help us. And from the very beginning, it's been really a partnership between public and private. I mean, we would not be who we are without the help of everyone at Town Hall, and in particular, Kristen, you've been great and really helped us form the organization. Moira is much better at the details of the organization than I, and has just served as my wingman. So really, we go together like chocolate and vanilla ice cream here, and it's worked out really well.
Moira, what was some of the original response that the business community and others shared with you when you guys started talking about forming this association and trying to attract members?
Well, it was actually as far back as it seems more recent, but it was April 2018 that Maribeth called a meeting of people, businesses, people who lived in the area, anyone who had an interest in the town center at her office at Thrive, and the room was packed. So we had a good response, and I would say initially we had more businesses, and they were open to, everybody was open to doing something. People didn't know what we wanted to do, but in general it was improving the vibe in the town center, the look of the town center, having activities here, making it a place that people wanted to come to.
Yep.
And that was, regardless of business or individuals. And so that's, I think that was really what was on everybody's mind.
And what did you see as, after these first initial meetings, like what emerged as sort of the priorities that you all wanted to approach first?
I think we realized that we had to start slow. We had to build up a brand, if you will, what the town center was, educate people about it. We talked a lot about how we would be structured. Would we have a membership structure, that kind of thing, how we would get people to participate. And I think the number one thing that came out was, well, one of the easiest things to do initially is to hold function.
To draw people
here. And so people coming here then would hopefully, visit the businesses, and one thing would spin off of another. So that is kind of where the idea for the Yuletide Market came from. It was a group getting together and saying, okay, what kind of event can we have? The idea of the Christmas market, like the European markets, came up, and it just rolled from there. It took off. Dave Champa here at Champa Funeral Home has been great, and he really took on the challenge to allow us to use his property for that event, and that's kind of how it started. But our first event was Coffee and Donuts in the Common.
That's right.
I think it was for
Ellen Dolan.
Spirit of Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
And Ellen Dolan was still the library director,
Mm-hmm.
and she spearheaded that. Dunkin' Donuts donated the coffee, and it was a tiny little event with a few people. And then what has become Light the Common with the trees, which was a whole big project in itself, started as a humble. There were 4 of us. Melanie Petrucci, Deb Cottom over at the Country Shop, Maribeth and I put what do you call it?
Tea lights.
Tea lights.
Tea lights in
little
bags.
boxes in bags for caroling on the Common, and
Yeah.
that was the genesis of Light the Common. So, and thankfully it's been successful.
The first
Which is great.
Yuletide Market was amazing, and Jim and I parked like down the street and walked up, and as you're walking up, you just all of a sudden I know it's going to be a great event, but I didn't anticipate having such like almost an emotional reaction to it.
Right.
Like coming up and just seeing people gathering. And the last time I felt that way was honestly like a couple days before we held the first override, and we had so many people on the common holding signs that had never been out for anything, and young kids and older couples, and we had pizza, and it was reminiscent of what a common
Yeah.
was.
Right.
And so walking up here, and it was wonderful. And I remember getting ready for the countdown for the tree lighting, and I had my camera pointed up.
Oh, wait.
And then all of a sudden they're like, and the lights are on, and I'm like, the first year, and naturally, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, how would they even like get the lights up there when you start thinking about it? But it was absolutely stunning, like to see the trees. And then I know you guys the next year you did even more. It's just absolutely beautiful. And even driving by at night in the winter when the lights are going, you'll see people posing together on the common or in groups taking pictures. And then you see them on Facebook. Everyone just like, they're drawn here. They wouldn't be here for any other reason if it wasn't lit at that time of year.
That's
And
true.
it just really, I give you credit because I think it is such a great signature event to start with,
Right.
because it's nothing that's ever been done before here that any of us certainly know about, and it really makes people think of Shrewsbury again as this is the center,
Right.
like this is the gathering spot. And I know, Kristen, we've worked together for several years on when the town has applied for different studies and funding opportunities to do some work downtown. And some of it I think preceded or was at the same, close to similar time of when the Shrewsbury Town Center Association was started. But walk us through a little bit of some of the studies and work that's been done on the
Yeah,
downtown.
absolutely. As identified in the 2016 master plan, we had lots of public outreach, and one of the major items that the residents and the business owners wanted to see us do was strengthen the town center. And there's a whole chapter in the master plan that talks about that. And I think that's when Maribeth and I connected right after that was published, and she said, I'm going to put my business there, I'm going to invest in the town center, I live in the town center. And that's really what I remember as our conversation starting. And then we were able to launch a series of grant applications. The one thing that we heard is people don't come to the center because there's no parking.
Right.
And we did a parking study, and we have thousands of parking spaces in the town center, whether they're public or private, but people don't know where they are. There's not appropriate signage. And that parking study is available, and we look at it every day. I think that's one of the missions of the Town Center Association is to bring businesses together to share parking and to tell each other, you can park in my spot or you can do this. So that was one of the major things that the Center Association built their mission off of. We then received a grant from the state to do a wayfinding study, so to identify what we wanted our branding to look like in the center. And you'll see that today. We finally put the signs up in the center these past few months, and that study was 2018, 2019. We had the public meetings for that before we went to remote meetings, which was really exciting just to see that come up. And that was another grant opportunity that helped us do the study for wayfinding, and then actually we got a grant to put the signs up. That's not taxpayer funded through the town, it's actually state funded. And we just continue to grow off of that. Mass DOT did some work to repave and redo the sidewalks in the center. We went back and forth with the association. Should we take away the parking spaces in front of the Hale Block and the pizzeria? Should we not? We had a site visit out. There was a lot of debate, and the vision was we want wide sidewalks and we want people to feel comfortable walking through. And we ultimately settled on that the Beal site at 1 through 7 Maple Avenue was going to become available for public parking at some point, and let DOT do their work, let them pay for the sidewalks. And I see people walking out there every day. Amici's is now able to have outdoor dining with what the state did for outdoor dining relief. I see that we're redoing our regulations in town, that the Board of Selectmen just allow outdoor dining by right, that you just have to submit an application form. It's very easy, so trying to draw people to that. So a lot has really happened over the past 5, 6, 7 years related to the center, which is very exciting, and it's not going to stop. The town government, the Board of Selectmen, the Planning and Economic Development Department are committed to helping the town center thrive, just like we're committed to helping the Lakeway Business District thrive. And I have to say, going to the Lakeway Business District meetings and the Town Center Association meetings are one of my favorite meetings to go to on a monthly basis, because we get to see a lot move and progress and make those connections with the residents and the local businesses.
It's funny, I mean, things that happened during COVID, right? There wasn't a lot anybody wanted to keep that we had to do during COVID, but one of the things was the outdoor dining.
Right.
We heard so much as legislators from municipalities and from just people who enjoyed outdoor dining. And Moira, back to your earlier point about sort of the European, when you go to Europe, everything's outside. And we're fortunate, I think, now to have an opportunity to have more of that. And I think, you know, it's also a blessing for some people who still don't feel comfortable being inside, to have that. But it also for, I think, business owners, people who own restaurants, like it's that much more room that if they have the staff, they can serve too. And I just think it really creates an air of that, bringing people together and having people walking by outside and seeing people, or just seeing, when you're driving by, like if you see tables out at a restaurant, you might think, we should go there for lunch, that you might not have thought about, you know, if it was, again, just a regular storefront where you couldn't see any of the food or the people enjoying it. So there's also, during COVID, there was an opportunity, I think, to respond to some of what was going on in communities and to identify ways to strengthen downtowns and think about revitalization. And that's been a priority coming out of COVID for the legislature and for the administration, was how do we continue to revitalize downtown areas? Some places are, you know, their downtown hasn't been a place that people have thought of for many years. There isn't really any structure there. Here, we're anchored by certainly the church, the library, you know, the funeral home, the Sumner House that's been here forever, the Hale block, the Cole building is now being redeveloped. And so there's a lot here that sort of centers our downtown. How do you envision like the next few years? Like what do you see as a vision for the Shrewsbury Town Center Association? And when would you feel like you've like met a significant milestone? Like what's the thing that you're all sort of driving for, that you're like, oh good, that was a huge, and we're so happy to be done with that? Maribeth, I don't know if you want to.
Well, I mean, I think going back to the Yuletide event and seeing all the energy and the excitement around that, it brought pedestrian traffic to our town center. And that's really, I think, the hallmark of a really well-defined town center is people are walking, they're enjoying, there's art, there's displays that are catching people's attention. And for me, and I've actually noticed this more in the last year, and I'll be curious to know if anyone else has seen this, more kids on bikes, people walking their dogs, people just walking in general. That brings energy, to your point. And to me, seeing kids on bikes outside of a pizza place, and families walking to have dinner together and grab ice cream, and benches with people just sitting and enjoying, that will feel like we've made it. But also we need, you know, economic development is certainly a huge part of this. We need good merchants, we need good businesses, we need us all to be working together so that we are encouraging everyone to work together. You know, people will go from one place to the next, and we want to, part of this Town Center Association desire is to get relationships formed amongst merchants so that we are working together. We're not in silos. We all need to get together to make this happen. And so for me, it's just seeing the energy and the enthusiasm of it being a place that people are actually going to want to come. And I don't think we're quite there, but I think that we've gone a long way, and we will continue to keep working on that. So
I've tried to give Moira a new job the last couple of years. We're coming up on the 300th anniversary of the town, and I keep suggesting to Moira that she should chair the 300th
not a bad idea.
celebration, because certainly I think in particular our downtown area could really be a key piece of that. So I see a connection to the work that you all are doing on the Shrewsbury Town Center Association, and just, you know, Moira also is big into genealogy, so I've just always thought that, you know, it would be the perfect job for her. I have no role in appointing. No, I have no role in this at all. I'm just creating one where I think it's
This
a
is
good
how it
idea.
starts.
You can, you know, you can run, you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
No, I literally, I think the day Moira said, I don't think I'm going to run for re-election. I'm like, great, I have a good idea.
I know what you will be doing for the next 10 years of your life.
But I do think it's a tremendous opportunity for us as a community. And I think it's a great opportunity for downtown to be thinking through. And I think people also like to work towards something significant, you know, so if you have something like that, you can build towards it, you can make decisions in town, you can rally people towards an event like that. And, you know, in the next couple of years, there's going to be some changes downtown. I don't know the exact timing, and maybe you have it, Kristen, and can share, but of when the Beale building would come down and when the development would go in there. I don't know.
I can share a little bit of that with you. Sure. One thing I failed to mention in my earlier comments was another huge significant piece that the town of Shrewsbury took on was rezoning the town center.
Right.
And that occurred at a town meeting outside under a tent in August of 2020 where the planning board and board of selectmen backed a plan to allow for mixed uses in the town center, design guidelines. It's a very comprehensive package that will hopefully foster property owners and business owners to revitalize on their own as the market sees fit. And then we were also facilitated with Beale moving to Lake Street and becoming surplus property and going through a whole reuse process and a study to understand what could be done at that property. And ultimately, the Beale Reuse Committee and then the Board of Selectmen selected a developer, Civico Development, to move forward. And we've had a very good working relationship with Civico. They have entered into a land disposition agreement with the Board of Selectmen, and we see that they'll be filing for their permitting with the Planning Board August or September timeframe here. So I don't have a timeframe where the building might come down, but I see them in permitting probably for 3 to 6 months. They're very committed to the property. While they are not actively on the site, that's allowed for public parking at this time to facilitate that. And then the project will have at least 20 public parking spaces on site, additional parking spaces on Haskell, and I see that as a huge draw as well with the World War I monument there, and just bringing people back and forth throughout the Main Street Maple Ave area.
And the monument is staying, correct?
That is
It's
correct,
gonna be-
yes. It is staying.
Maddie and I came up on Saturday, and to your earlier point about walking around down here, we came up, we got parked at Beale, we got a coffee, and we went and walked all sort of downtown and around, and I just said, like, I wanted to walk by the police station. There's just so much happening. I wanted to go take a look, and the next morning, Maddie's like, can we go back to the center and take another walk around again?
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what we want.
And I think another thing that is a goal for us is finding funding mechanisms that are consistent for things like beautification and helping landowners and business owners with facade improvements to their properties. That type of thing is going to be, I think, a big focus for the Town Center Association.
Yeah, and the
this
town's
coming
wrapping
year.
up a facade study that I know both of you have participated in, and we actually applied for town ARPA dollars to fund potential facade improvements. The Board of Selectmen have funded small business grants through the ARPA program as well, so we're trying to do as much as we can with that funding.
I think that's all really exciting. How, if somebody is interested, do they become a member or become involved in the Shrewsbury Town Center Association?
So we have a website, shrewsburytca.org, or Google it,
And a Facebook page.
and a Facebook page, or Moira and I or Kristen could, and I think most of our members that are really participating come to a meeting and get hooked from there. And we would invite anyone that wants to participate in a meeting. We meet the second Thursday of each month by Zoom at 8 a.m. And anybody is welcome to join. And if they decide that that's something that they want to, and by the way, just anyone can join. We're not only focused on Town Center.
Sure.
And we have different levels of sponsorship and membership opportunities. And we would welcome. We're looking for new people. We're actively knocking on doors looking for new people.
Right.
So I would definitely say if someone's out there that's listening that has just been intrigued by what's going on, no better way to get involved than to come to a meeting.
And are you going to be holding the Yuletide Market again? Is there a
Yep.
date for that? Is it the first Saturday in December?
December.
December 4th?
Yep.
Yes, we are. The committee will be meeting, I think, next month to start the planning process, and And we are victims of our own success, so we are now in the position of figuring out how to do it and keep the core, what everybody likes, but also recognize we had about, what did we say, 3,000?
Almost 3,000
Almost
people.
3,000 people attended last year, so we're going to have to reconfigure a little bit. But I think we'd be remiss to not also mention the great relationship we have with the Congregational Church and the Historic Society and Selco that has helped with so much of the electric for like the Common and the
And
but
the
yeah, so
individual
we'll definitely-
donors. We,
Oh, and the donors! Oh my gosh!
I
the
mean,
trees,
it really
like the-
started as a we call it dialing for dollars, just calling people and saying, hey, would you help us out? And that was the genesis for lighting the Common. So many hands make light work, and it's true, and that's how this whole thing started.
Well, I think there's so many people that are looking forward to it now that have had the opportunity to come. And I think, which is probably a mark of success, I don't think it was just Shrewsbury people that attended the Yuletide market. I think
Oh no! yeah.
people were drawn from the area because they started hearing about it, or they saw people posting about it, or somebody in town said to somebody who lived out of town, why don't you come with us? Like, let's go to the market, bring the kids. And I think that's a great opportunity because then people come, they see the downtown, they realize there's other things, there's restaurants, there's places to go, places to shop, country store, and it like makes them return visitors, which is ultimately what we want. I mean, we have a great sized community, but having people come from other places, which is also why you want to have the signage that you have, so that when people are coming who don't live here all the time and don't know their way around necessarily, they understand the lay of the land. And I think, honestly, I can't imagine if you all hadn't done this. Like, it just seems now like we've always had a Shrewsbury Town Center Association, we've always had a Yuletide market, the Common. But I'm really grateful that you all decided that this was a priority because it takes a lot of time and effort to do something like this. It's volunteer work, and yet the community is benefiting enormously from the work that you all are doing. And I definitely would encourage people. They don't have to necessarily come to a meeting if they want to financially support the Shrewsbury Town
Great.
Center Association.
Great.
We are a 501c3. That was one of the first things we did.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can make a tax exempt donation. Yep.
Just participating in the Yuletide event, coming is part of the success of that.
And I'm sure most people recognize you two sitting next to each other from the ladies'
Ladies'
night.
night.
Right, that's true.
But
Probably for a
now
second
they
thought
know
I was
that
at ladies'
We
night.
do more than ladies' night. Yeah. Now in the grocery store when they stop us.
Yes, right. Our famous celebrity sightings.
And Kristen, thanks for all you do to help lead the economic development efforts. I think we're really starting to see a lot of the hard work that's been going on,
Right.
that more people can visually see that now. I mean,
Definitely.
to have people to get to the visual point requires so many years and so much work
Yeah.
before everyone starts to see it. And so, what you're seeing today is lots of decision by the board, lots of decision by volunteers, and lots of work by the folks who work in town to make this happen. And I think we probably should mention Angela Snell and the folks that also do a tremendous job. It looks beautiful Memorial Day.
Yep.
And I always love, that's another sort of iconic use of this Common, is coming down, walking down the street in the parade and coming around and seeing everyone gathered here.
Yep.
And then listening at the War Memorial. The more opportunity we have for people to come and participate in community activities downtown, the better off, the stronger we are as a community. So thank you for your work leading these efforts, and congratulations again, Maribeth. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining me. And we deliberately did do this after school ended, because otherwise
This gazebo would be.
the students, the young
Students
people
love
in
this.
town definitely
Yes.
make use of the Common.
Yes.
And so that's always fun to see too, the next generation enjoying it. So, but thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Hannah, and thanks for all the work that you do at the state level for us.
Thank
That's
you.
really important.
Thank you. And I hope you found this informative, and certainly there are lots of ways to support the Shrewsbury Town Center Association. We definitely encourage you to do so, and look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations with Hannah.